Haha, you gotta love it, man. Too funny. Kelly McParland, headline in the National Post. Trudeau confounds provinces with conservative policies in liberal clothing. They don't realize it's, yeah, central planners, those that want to rule over you, yeah, sometimes they will, their platforms and their rhetoric will cross that great divide. Imagine that. When it comes to dictating, ruling, and managing all of Canadians' lives, yeah, I mean, political parties, they have, traditionally, right, liberal or the left-leaning political parties wanted to control and dominate mostly in the social aspect, whereas conservatives and their ilk were predominantly in the economic aspect. Although you can twist and distort that with the social part of it, with conservative social conservatism, where religion over realism, or even in the cross platform when you talk about economics as far as the left leanings, like instead of capitalism, socialism, or communism. So it all gets completely twisted and distorted, which is why even if you go back to Europe with the fascism and communism, socialism, but they all fell under the same umbrella of collectivism, where their central planners try to dictate, control, and manipulate the lives of the people in their particular country of origin or their geographical landmass. So of course those lines can be skewed. They, believe it or not, control freaks sometimes tend to agree on how they want to dominate their livestock or their tax slaves or their wage serfs, right? Imagine that. Shocking revelation. And Kelly's just now learning this. I'm beginning to think Justin Trudeau's government would be nowhere without Stephen Harper's help. The Liberals have already adopted so many of the former Conservative government's positions, a suspicious mind might suspect last year's election was all part of a vast right-wing conspiracy to hold on to Tory policies, but repackage them under a much friendlier face. Yeah, with nicer hair, right? The Liberals, like the Tories, have concluded that greater transparency is not such a great thing. How? If you're a central planner, control freak, or sociopath, yeah, you don't want to fucking, tell everyone what you're doing beforehand. Duh. At the moment, they're being criticized for holding just 3 technical briefings on Canada's fight against ISIL since the election last year. The Tories held 12 in their last year in power. The Liberals have likewise decided that a 3% annual increase in healthcare transfers to the province is plenty, just as the Tories decreed. That the Conservative target on admission reductions was perfectly fine. That the UN's Declaration on the Rights of Aboriginals is unworkable in Canada. That welcoming refugees involves more than just turning up at the airport for a photo op. That developing Canada's resources is necessary, even if it offends activists in some Native communities. That regional claims on Supreme Court seats need to be honored, and that repairing the centuries-old relations with Aboriginal communities is a lot harder than a few well-meaning speeches. Okay, so live and learn. Latest evidence that the Liberals have devoted extensive study to the Conservative playbook has been on display this week, as Trudeau discovered he had a completely full agenda and couldn't possibly confer with health ministers from the 10 provinces and 3 territories in Toronto so they could press their demands for more money. But once again, these fucking idiots that get into the political bullshit, it's like, holy fuck, man. The ministers were ostensibly gathering to discuss important issues related to healthcare, but really what they wanted was to complain as loud and long as possible about the Liberals' refusal to extend a 13-year-old agreement under which they get 6% increase, annual funding increases. Jane Philpott, the federal minister, offered them the same 3% increase the Conservative governments had promised. She also noted that health spending has been rising at a rate of 0% to 2% a year, while the provinces have been getting 6%, which is a pretty good deal. No one wants to say out loud where the extra money has been going, but we all know the answer. The provinces use it to finance whatever program strikes their fancy. Philpott upset the ministers on Tuesday when she posted a Facebook comment and tweeted that alluded to this awkward reality. Canadians expect that any new investment for healthcare ought to go to healthcare, she suggested. Anyways, I can't read any more of this shit because it's just there's some days And or sometimes, and this is one of those times where I just can't read the bullshit rhetoric from these fucking political pandering propagandists. It makes me sick. I got better things to do. So I'm shutting this video down. It's the end of it for today. See you next time. Canadian Libertarian. I love liberty.